Hi, good morning, everyone. My morning has been filled with my husband. Ever have a morning filled with your husband? Oh my. We had to go and drop off my car because there's lights and stuff on it, and that was my morning. Ran to the dealer, dealt with my husband. So I don't know if there's anyone in your house that is like opposite than you in the morning. So I like to be quiet and I like to do my own thing in the morning. And my husband drinks coffee and then he bounces off the wall. I told him this morning, I was like, I think I'm gonna do like a John in the morning series because he's so funny. And that yes. So happy Tuesday. Good morning, everyone. Um, oh, I have to open the door because I have dogs that want to come in and say hi. Come on in. Hi, Bunny. Hi, Birdie. All right. Um, so we are on day 3 of the discovery call, also known as the non-salesy sales conversation, also known as the coffee chat, all the above. And this is a guide to how you have conversations and walk people through a path. It's basically a sales conversation, but most of the time, not all of the time, it doesn't feel like a sales conversation. So just to go through the steps one more time, and if you're joining, come and say hi. Good morning. I was just talking about how I spent the morning with my husband dropping off cars, and now I am here with you. So the steps to a discovery call: know that a discovery call can be any conversation. So it doesn't have to be just a teed up consult or a teed up sales call. A discovery call is anytime you're having a conversation and discovering something about someone else, right? Your potentially your ideal client. And the steps for a discovery call are, hopefully you have them memorized by now if you've been listening over the last few days. Hi. Hi, guys. So the steps are, Anna, what's the first step in the discovery call? You should put it in the comments. The first step is research and building rapport. The second step is agenda and outcome, two of the most important pieces in a discovery call. And the third is profiling, your profiling questions. There's 3 different levels: surface, open it up; middle, dig deeper; and third, problem resolution. And this is where you find the emotional pain point. And if you can't do that, if you can't get to the emotional pain point, then you can't pitch at the end. After profiling, we get to your turn, summary, and pitch. So that's what we'll talk about for a few minutes today. Um, Hopefully, you spent some time looking at the replay yesterday, because this profiling, the meat and potatoes, that's where you're finding out everything that you want to find out, and you're asking a lot of questions, and you've kind of build out your questions, and then after profiling, then it's your turn. So what it means by your turn is that you're opening it up for you to then tell your story. So then you're walking yourself through your own profiling, and you want to show up as much as possible when you're walking yourself through your own profiling. And what I mean by that is um, show up as vulnerable and as authentic as you can. So even if they were super guarded throughout the conversation, you still want to share your story. So here's an opportunity for you to decide what you want to bring to this conversation and how much of you want to share with the conversation. So this is something that you can do even ahead of time, is getting really good at telling your story and sharing your story and even writing it down. So during a discovery call, you profile them, and then it's your turn, and that's when you share. So tell me about yourself, Dora, right? So you're telling about yourself, and you're sharing your story. So um, this is this is where you can decide how much you want to share, right? So I pretty much have a 5 to 7 minute dialogue um, down, right? So if somebody says, if I'm on a coffee chat and it's my turn, then I pretty much can run them through me in less than 5 to 7 minutes and give them everything that I want them to know about me in that period of time. So you want to share is you want to share accolades about yourself. You want to share trials that you have conquered and that you have gotten over. You want to share your relationships professionally. Those are the types of things that you want to share during your turn. So it's not just, well, this is what I do, right? So I'll give you like a quick walkthrough so you can pick apart the pieces that you really want. All right, so when it's your turn and it's time to tell your story, it can go something like this. Okay, well, I will share with you some of my background and how I got to where I'm doing what I do today. So, in my 20s, I was married really young and divorced really young and had two little girls that I needed to take care of. So, I knew I needed to be self sufficient and I knew I needed to ensure that I had a job that was secure. So, I jumped into the corporate world. I worked in commercial banking. I found myself in a senior vice president role by the time I was 27. And for 17 years, I worked in banking. It was quite an intense environment. But while I was there were a lot of things that I got to do that I loved. One of them was coaching and developing top performing leaders. So I got to build sales curriculum and I got to work with top performing talent and I got to help the bank make tons of money and I got to work with a lot of businesses and help groom and build businesses. So it was, even though it was high pressure and the environment was quite challenging, there were things within those years that I got to do. And then personally, over those years, I raised my daughters, and my mom, who was my rock, she got very sick, and I was her caregiver for 10 years, and then working in this high pressure role. So that was my life for 17 years. And then after I lost my job at the bank, I went back to school, and I always wanted to go to school where my grandfather went to school. So I got certified in empowering women's leadership at Cornell, which was a great experience. And that's when I started consulting and working primarily with women business owners. At that time, I was also tapped on the shoulder by a few fellas that were building a fintech startup. At that time, fintech was the new wave, and they were building a crowdfunding platform for women and minority businesses where we could deploy capital to them so they could start their businesses. And it was a huge mission and it was a ton of fun. And I spent the next 3 years taking all of that knowledge that I had at the bank and instituting it into this startup to see if it would work. And lo and behold, it did. And then when I decided to plan my exit strategy from the bank, it was my sister who said to me, why don't you take everything that you've done, all this experience over the last 20 plus years, and take it all that's wrapped around your little finger and go give it to who you really want to go give it to, which is women like you. So now I spend all of my days coaching women to live their purpose and create their highest earnings potential. So empowering women to really go out there and live their dream life. Ta-da! So I did that in less than 5 minutes, and as you can tell, I've said that before. And so I want you to pick out those pieces of your life that you want to share with the person that you're talking to. And now the thing is, don't expect them to ask as many questions as you asked because they don't have this discovery call guide. They don't have these steps like you do. So, so if they don't ask a lot of questions, oh, I keep going in and out. Oh, darn. I wonder if I'm having some issues with my internet. Is it better? Let me know if it's better. Um, okay. I don't have my plugs in, so if I'm going in and out, I'm sorry. Let me know if it's really bad. Um, so take some time and think about your story on 5 to 7 minutes of what you would want to share. Anything more than that, you lose people. And um, since they don't have the training to know to ask questions, then you could even lose them sooner than that, right? Oh, good. Okay. So that is your turn. And then after your turn, you center back on them. So as soon as you have an opportunity, you center back on them after you share your story. And this is where you summarize. So summarize is well, based on what we talked about, there are a few things that really stood out, and then you list those things that stood out around areas that you can solve their problem. So whatever that may be. So I'll just use me as an example. My hair is like really acting weird. Um, okay, I'll use me as an example. So I'm talking with someone and they share that they I've asked them questions and they've shared I've gotten to that pain point, and that pain point is that they really want to be self-sufficient, or they really want to leave their 9 to 5, or they really want to retire, or they're not making as much money as they want to make, or like whatever those things are. And so during the summary, it's important for me to lay those out for them and for people to really look at it, right? So once you get to the pain point, lay it out for them. And you simply say, sorry, you simply say, based on everything that we just talked about, here are some of the things that I heard, and then lay them out. I heard that it's really important for you to XYZ. I heard that this is a really big problem for you. I heard that you want to solve this. I heard that these are the things that are standing in the way. Okay. So then you answer that. You answer that for them. And then once you summarize and share that, you then ask, is this something that I could help you support? I'd like to share a little bit more about what I do. And then they'll say, sure, yes. And that's when you pitch. So the summary is just about them. You hit the emotional pain point, what those things are. And you only do this if you have, right? So if you have not, then there's no reason to summarize or pitch, okay? So once you summarize, then the pitch is very, very simple. The pitch is basically what you do, how long you do it, and how much it is. That's all it is. So in Anna's case, I'm looking at who's on. So in Anna's case, it's I can clean your house. I can give you professional organization. I charge $200 for 4 hours. That's the pitch. That's it. So how much time, how much money, and what you do. That's it. So I am a health coach. I work with you for 3 months. We work together every single week, and I charge $3,000. That's your pitch. So your pitch should not be lengthy. It should not say, well, I work with people customized depending on exactly what they need, and that is how we price it, and go on and on and on about all the different things that you could do, because you will lose them so quickly. You just want to come out with something very simple. I typically work women, or I typically work with whoever for this long at this much for this term. Or if you want a painting or pictures, it's typically this much for this long, and this is what I can offer you. And then let them ask questions. So all that stuff, all those features, remember back to value proposition, features and benefits, all those features will come out based on what they need. They will ask you because you don't really know exactly. So you want them to ask you the questions so then you can share the features. So you have all them in your brain. You want to share those features, but don't. Just let them ask. And those questions will come out if they are engaged, right? So if they're not engaged, then the questions aren't going to come out. So if you get 0 questions, the next is, well, how does that make you feel? What's coming up for you? And so, how does it make you feel? What's coming up for you? Then you'll start getting responses around either how to handle objections, or it's not for them, or it is for them. And you let them tell you instead of guess. So, what's coming up for you, and how does that make you feel? A lot of times for me, when I say how does it make you feel, what's coming up for you, um, the main objection is like cost, right? Working with me isn't cheap. So cost is a big thing that comes up. So whatever that objection is, it could be cost, it could be I don't have time, um, it could be it's not, it really isn't that big of a priority. It could be I have to talk to my husband. It could be anything. It could be I have several people I'm talking to, whatever it is. And tomorrow I will go over how to handle all of those objections because it is now 9:18. All right, so thanks for listening in. Discovery Call 101. We'll do it again soon. And everyone have a really blessed day. Bye.